All right, welcome everybody. It's Jeff Toyster. I am here with Scott Newman, CEO of Transparent BPO. Scott, it's great to see you. How are you today?
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Now, me too. And I know we've talked a lot offline, and it's just I really admire what you've done at Transparent. And we'll dive into that in just a moment. I want to welcome everyone who is joining us live. I know we've got a great audience and a lot of people that are excited to, Scott, hear you talk about being a customer focused leader. But I have a question for the audience. I know this is an easy question, but why be customer focused? Why does it matter? And I want to get your opinion. Also, if you have a question that you'd like to ask Scott, please share it as a comment. Now, Scott, I think I shared this with you, but we'll have people joining us today live. We'll have people that are also watching this as a recorded interview. So either way, if you're live or watching the recording, leave a question or even a reaction via the comments on this LinkedIn post, and we'll try to respond to you. So we've got people from all over the place, lots of great comments coming in, and some people from as far away as Ethiopia and Baltimore, Maryland, which is very near where you
My
are.
backyard. Yeah.
We've got a lot of people here today. All right, we are right at the top of the hour, so let's get started. Thank you again for everyone who's joining in today. My name is Jeff Toyster, and I'm really excited to be joined today by Scott Newman, who's the CEO of Transparent BPO. And rather than me give the rundown, Scott, do you mind to start us off just giving us an overview of Transparent?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for having me today, Jeff. So Transparent BPO, we were founded in 2009. We have about 35 employees out of the United States that are sort of managerial or above roles to support the business, but all of our delivery centers are international. So we have about 2,000 employees in the country of Belize, where we're the largest private employer in the country there. We have about 700 employees in the Philippines, and we're very excited opening up our first brick and mortar facility there in Green Hills in the next 30 to 45 days. So that's an exciting expansion. And then last year, we expanded into our newest nearshore location in Jamaica. And a really cool story there that we did in partnership with a college. But we support mostly U.S. Clients that are looking for high quality English voice and other channel support. And we've been in business here for our 14th year, and it's been going great.
And I might add, you've been racking up some of the accolades as well. Do I get this right? Is it 7 years in a row on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies?
We have 7 years in a row and 8 overall. And so we've been something we're really proud of as an organization. It's very hard to make that list just because to sustain growth over a period of time at that rate, usually you have a lot of other factors. And so something we're really proud of that we've made that list 7 times in a row. I think it shows sustained but responsible growth.
So one of the things that I'm really impressed with Transparent, and frankly, Scott, with you as a leader, is just your ability to focus on your customers. I know you're in a crowded industry. I know you have a lot of competition, but to be able to grow and sustain that growth through customer focus is awesome. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and specifically the Transparent mission statement. So I really want to start there. What is your mission statement?
We have the most simplistic, easy to remember mission statement. It's very short and sweet. It's our passion is the success of your brand.
And you know what I love about this? I knew I could put you on the spot and ask that question. And for those of you tuning in, ask your CEO. Well, maybe not, but be careful. I ask a lot of CEOs, what is your mission statement? Very few of them know it. And if the CEO doesn't know it, how does anyone else expect to know it? But Scott, I knew I could put you on the spot and ask you. I knew you'd know it. But now the big question, okay, what does it mean?
Yeah. So I really the mission statement, we focus on 2 different things. So number one is being customer focused, as you mentioned, and we really truly try to position ourselves as an extension of our clients' brands. We take a lot of pride in that. We know it's a big responsibility. We know our clients are putting their trust in our company to represent their brand well. And so we do have a lot of passion for representing their brands well. But we also like the mission statement because we want to also support our employees' personal brands, right? And so being able to help them advance their career, giving them trainings and things that maybe would help outside if they're in their personal lives or moving on to other jobs. So we take a lot of pride in the fact that it is representing our clients' brands, but also helping represent our employees' personal brands as well.
And one of the things I find really interesting about that is you're not separating the customer experience from the employee experience. You're saying our culture applies to both aspects of the organization.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit of history to kind of give some context around this. But when we started the business in 2009, we had like a 4-sentence or maybe 5-sentence blurb of what our mission statement is, like providing value, blah, blah, blah. We had a vision statement. We had a commitment to our employees, and we had core values, our 4 core values. And obviously, working with your organization, we came back to this probably about 3.5 years ago or so at this point and said, the mission statement no longer represents who we are as a business. Like, we've matured as an organization from 2009. And I knew it was broken because I would walk through the contact center and say, hey, what's our mission statement? And nobody knew it, no matter how much you train it, right? It's too long. It's too complicated. There's too many different things to remember. And so now we've really settled on our passion is the success of your brand, mission statement, and our 4 core value: clients, quality, community, and transparency. And both have really specific purposes that drive the organization. But now it's something that everybody can remember, and it's really ingrained into our culture and who we are.
I think that part about being ingrained into the culture is key, and you're so right about, if you're asking employees what's the mission and no one knows it, how are they possibly going to use the mission to guide what they do? So I want to dive into that, but first, if you're tuning in either live or if you're watching the recording and you have a question for Scott about being a customer-focused leader, go ahead and leave it as a comment. We'll try to get to some of them. I see a question or two coming in already, and so I think we'll address those in just a moment. But I want to come back to this idea of making sure that everybody knows the mission. One of the things I admire about your mission statement is it is so memorable. It's so impactful. Our passion is the success of your brand. I didn't have to write it down for this interview. I memorized your mission statement. It's easy. But how do you engage employees with the mission so they understand it and they can use it to guide the work that they're doing?
So a quick story, and first is sort of how it got created. Our original mission statement was all executive driven, right? When we went through this exercise, so the first thing we did is we surveyed the entire population, the entire employee base, and said, in a sentence, tell us what transparent BPO means to you. And then we assembled a focus group that had no executive leadership in it, and they took a word cloud of everything that came through in that survey, and took the top 8 words or so, and they came up with this mission statement on their own. And all they did was, and through your help, ran it up to me and said, does this represent, like, let's try it on for size. Does this represent the company? And they created it, not me. And I think that's really an important piece when you say about how do you bleed through the culture and train it and reinforce it. The number one is that this was defined by our employees themselves. It's their words, not mine. So I think that's sort of the first step in it. But there's a couple of things. Number one, in that initial training, we talk about our purpose, why we exist, our relationship with our clients, why the mission statement is important to us, why we use it to guide our decision-making, as well as the 4 core values. And then we do events throughout the year to sort of celebrate it and reinforce it. So if you walk through one of my contact centers today, you'd see it everywhere. It's everywhere throughout the building. But on top of that, we do events on a like a week every single year where we actually celebrate the mission statement, and we ask employees to share what does this mean to you, and we use that to help continue to drive home and reinforce the purpose of the company.
You make such a great point, Scott, because I've seen a lot of mission statement efforts, and if I had to categorize them into, what criteria help the organization embrace the mission statement versus, when does the mission statement fall flat? When it's only been the executive team that writes that statement, it's really, really hard to sell it. And you're so right that having every employee have a chance to contribute, and then having that smaller group really wordsmith it and try to come up with a statement that represents not just something that's aspirational, but who you really are at its core. That makes it so much more meaningful. And I think that's really the key, isn't it? For a mission statement, it has to resonate with people. So for the example, you talked about new hires. Is that part of the hiring process as well? Are you looking for people that are going to fit with that mission statement or resonate with that mission statement?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things we talk about in the interview process with our recruiting team all the time is my least favorite answer to an interview question of why do you want this job, right? Is, well, because I need a job, right? Like I get that answer a lot. And it's my least favorite reason, right? Because everybody needs a job and, of course, a means to pay for things and to live comfortably. But I think there are a lot of opportunities for people out there, more than ever in the history of our world, right? Even outside of normal corporate environments. But we do look for people that are passionate about reinforcing the mission statement. But one of the other things we do to really reinforce it is whether you are CEO, president of the company, or whether you are a frontline agent or a security guard, everybody, we call it day zero, goes through Transparent BPO Culture Day. And it's a full day on our LMS where they go through a self-guided introduction from me, from others, the purpose of the company. So everybody gets that same core value and Culture Day training to make sure that we're sort of setting the right foundation for everybody, regardless of what your role is in the company.
One of the things that I find really kind of interesting is, and actually, I want to pause for just a moment. We've got one of the questions that was asked, I think, is really related to that. So, Brittany asked, "What type of training and support do you give your employees to help them grow their customer service skills?" You talked a little bit about onboarding and the culture specifically. You're known for having a customer-focused organization. What are some other things that you do to help your team be really great at customer service?
So obviously it's an ongoing training process in any contact center. But so not only does the day zero culture training, we always do a week of new hire training to give basic skills and like foundational training, and that's on our dime always at Transparent BPO. It's one of our expenses, but before they go into even any kind of client specific training, they have this foundational training. One of the things we're really excited and happy about, we launched it about 2 years ago, is Transparent BPO University. And we built our own university from the ground up. And it has different career levels that they can graduate and have different financial incentives for completing them. But for example, the first level of the course is about 40 hours, but it's not all customer service training. There's about 32 hours of like core customer service, sales, stress handling type courses that you need to take. But one of the cool things that we've built into it is that we have over 1,000 elective courses that are within the university. And so just like a college course, you take your core courses and then you have to select a certain number of electives, which could be like financial planning for your company or Excel skills or whatever might be of interest to you to help your career or even outside of the office. That's some of the ways that we encourage ongoing training and continued development.
Now, one of the things I think that's unique in that mix of being customer focused is that as a BPO, a lot of your employees, they're representing another brand. So they're representing the Transparent brand, but when they're communicating with a customer, they're representing another brand, which I imagine could easily be confusing if you didn't have such a strong culture. But it's exactly what your mission statement is speaking to. Can you give us some examples of, What does that look like for employees when they are representing transparent, but they're also becoming part of another brand?
We think brand integration with our clients is like the number one most important thing. We love having our clients come down and spend time and introduce themselves and talking about their mission statement and their purpose. We look at co-branding things like swag and lanyards and shirts. And if you go to the contact center floors, you'll see the branding for all of our clients. We try to make it like a home. We service a client that deals with like technical support for vacuum cleaners, ACs, and those kinds of things. And you could walk onto the contact center floor and you have a whole product department that's sitting there. One of our other clients that did collectibles will actually allow an employee to get something once a month of their own so they can experience what it's like. But really that co-branding is so important, but that requires client communication and partnership to make those sorts of things happen. And so that is something that's really important to us when we are looking at onboarding new clients. It's sort of a two-way selection process. We want to make sure that we're the right fit for them, but also that the client's a right fit for us so that we can make sure that we're able to continue to live our culture.
And when you were describing that, Scott, one of the things that comes to mind is I think a lot of people think of culture as kind of this nebulous topic. But the examples you just gave, you can see your culture in action. You can see if somebody's engaged with the culture and they're excited about the brand that they represent. Or I guess you could see if they're not engaged or they're not enthusiastic about it. So I appreciate that you're making culture tangible. And we've talked a lot about, I think, your employees, but I want to talk about you a little bit. As a leader, how does that mission influence your decision making?
I mean, it's everything about my decision making. I tell people, I've told people this for years. As an entrepreneur, I don't think I make the best leader because I'm like the guy that's like squirrel, and I want to go follow the next shiny thing. And a lot in leadership, people look for stability and predictability, and I think sometimes entrepreneurs struggle with that a little bit. But where I see my role, and back in the day, 2009, 10, 11, 12, I could see everything. I could influence everything because we're a much smaller company. Now, the size that we are, a global company, that's clearly not possible. And so really, when people say, well, what do you do or what's your responsibility? I really view myself as the keeper of the core values of the business. That's how I always kind of refer to my job. And it's important to me that we empower our leaders at the company to make their own decisions. And my job is not necessarily to scrutinize every little decision of whether it was right or wrong, but it is my job to scrutinize the decision of whether it lived up to the core values and the mission of the company. And so my job is just to keep the company sort of like between the two buoys and make sure that as we're making decisions that they align into the core values of the business and that we're not losing ourselves throughout the process of scaling and growing.
You make such a great point about there's so many decisions you have to make as a leader, and I could relate to this. It's easy to get distracted. You want to do everything, but what I really like is that you're saying that the mission helps you and your team stay grounded in terms of this is a good decision or this isn't a decision that fits our culture. I sometimes think of it as if you have a really good mission statement, it's your compass or your North Star that says we're headed in the right direction, or no, we shouldn't do this, even if this seems like a lucrative opportunity. And I want to go back to something you said earlier about client fit. Does that mission come into play as well when assessing, can we be passionate about this client's brand?
100%. We tell clients prospects when we first engage with them, I mean, realistically, everybody we talk to, we can help less than half. And that's not because, and I think a lot of the bigger BPOs that are, want to just grow and it's all about size and onboarding the next client. It's every client's the right fit. And for us, we view it differently. Like we value the partnership we have with our clients, and we are evaluating them the same time that they're evaluating us. There's got to be a mutual fit. Otherwise, those are the kinds of things that erode the underlying culture of a business. It's sort of like that saying from a leadership where if you allow your best performance to kind of get away with murder, not hold them to the same standards that everybody else, that's like a cancer throughout the business. It'll erode that trust over time. And so I think it really is important that we look at all of our clients and make sure that they fit within the culture that we're trying to create as well. And we've been very, very fortunate with the clients that we work with, that they've put their trust in us, and we do our best to be a great partner for them.
I think that's almost counterintuitive, that you become a high growth company by being extremely selective about the companies you work with. But it does make sense in terms of what you're saying, that if we're going to really live this culture, then every decision you make, including the clients you work with, is a decision that either reinforces the culture or potentially damages the culture if you bring on the wrong client or the wrong employee or the wrong initiative.
I think any business, you have to decide, do you want to be the biggest or do you want to be the best? Right? Because those are two very different paths. And where a lot of BPOs in the industry, their client attrition is in double digits a year, or even more than that in some circumstances. And so they're sort of treading water, and the only way to continue to grow is to add. For us, we try to make sure that our client attrition is extremely low or non-existent, so that we sort of pick the right relationships and we have great foundations and we grow them over time, so that our clients are sticky and they can count on us, that they know that we're reliable as well.
So, Scott, I've got to tell you, I'm just looking at the comments, and there's a lot of people saying this is the kind of company that I want to work for. I can get behind this. So, I want to do a little ad placement here. If someone wanted to explore job opportunities at Transparent, where would they go? I imagine you have a website for that.
Yep, transparentbpo.com. There's a careers button on the very top of the page. We are always hiring in our markets in Belize, Jamaica, and the Philippines. We do offer brick and mortar and work from home opportunities. So check out what's on there, and hopefully you'll find an opportunity that feels like it might fit your needs.
Awesome. No, I saw so many people kind of saying that. Oh, let me keep this up here for another minute. I figure we might as well just put that in there in case people are wondering and want to learn more about what opportunities are available. There was another question here. This one is from Jeff. And I think you've touched on this a little bit, but it's probably worth coming back to, which is keeping people engaged with the culture. So it's one thing, we onboard them, we get people excited. I've seen data from multiple sources that says, generally speaking, if you work in a contact center, after about 3 months, your level of job satisfaction starts to decrease significantly. And so I'm sure that's a universal challenge in any contact center. So if we go to Jeff's question, how do you keep people engaged and keep people excited about the culture over the long run?
Yeah, there's a couple of different parts to this. So around your data, and I don't know if we are unique or different, but we see our lowest employee satisfaction at the 90-day mark, and then it skyrockets from there. And so we have a lot of initiatives, especially in that first 90 to 120 days, to try to engage and offer additional support to our new onboards at Transparent. I think some of the things that we do about events and doing things outside of the office, and to show people more of a purpose, because the reality is that the contact center job can be monotonous at times. It can be repetitive. I can't change that, but certainly can change how we perceive it and what we do outside of the day-to-day job. And so we do a lot of events and activities. We try to show appreciation. Like if you check out some of our Facebook pages in the markets, donut days and snow cone giveaways and fundraisers and giving back into the communities. There's a lot of little things that we try to do to show appreciation and to reinforce our culture. And as well as our ongoing training and opportunities for people to advance their careers. That's something that's been very, very important, that we're showing employees a very clear path in their career at Transparent BPO. So that if they, I'm a lifer in this industry, if somebody wants to make it in this industry for long-term, that they have a very clear path to be able to do that with our company.
So one of the things I'm getting from everything that you're saying is this is not like a one and done. Like, hey, we're going to work on culture this year, and next year we'll work on customer service or something completely different. I mean, you're all in, which that's when I talk to customer focused leaders, I think that's a common trait. Everything that you're doing is focused on back on that culture. But I want to ask you a question to kind of pivot a little bit, which is what are some of the challenges when it comes to being a mission focused leader? If you're doing this all day in, day out, every day, what are some of the hard stuff?
I think especially in sort of the current climate in our industry where, there's the introduction of AI, that's all the rage and talk about in our space, and the economy and what consumer behavior is. I think there's, not for me specifically, but I think at all layers in the contact center, we're so focused on metrics on everything that we do that I think sometimes it's easy to get sucked into the data solely driven analytics of a business. That could be metrics like KPIs for clients, but it also could be financials of the business. And I think there's a temptation always for people at all layers in the company to take shortcuts, right? To achieve a certain metric or goal. And I think that when you're faced with adversity, like the industry is seeing right now, this is the time that you really got to pay extra special attention to the values and the mission statement. This is the time where I think companies that really stick true to who they are and persevere are going to come out much better in the other side of this. So I think when it comes to challenges, just it's making sure that you balance the financial and the KPI and the metric driven component of our business, but you don't lose all of those other intangibles that we talk about in the interim, and just making sure that you're doing the right thing for the business as a whole and its people.
That's it's so spot on, but I imagine that's got to be tough sometimes to not chase metrics or not not get too focused on one thing. Because in your business, and I don't know if everybody tuning in understands this, your clients have their own metrics that are part of their culture and that are important to them. And I imagine part of a good relationship is for you to be able to hit those metrics that are important to your client. Is that a challenge sometimes to try to balance it? We want to go after these metrics because our client cares about it, but we also have to do it the right way.
Yeah, 100%. And that's our job, right? Our job is to deliver for our clients, and they tell us what's important to their business. We understand it and we partner with them to make sure we deliver that. I just think sometimes, especially in our space, where when you're faced with challenges, especially leaders in the sort of middle management, that first mentality is, when I'm not hitting a metric, is to start hitting the hammer, right? And say, we got to get this, we got to hit these. And I think our constant focus is in making sure that we're teaching our leaders how to achieve those KPIs, because that's our job, that's our existence with our clients, but to do it in a way that doesn't sacrifice the culture, that there is this nice middle ground where you can marry the two, where you're still delivering for your clients, but you're doing it in a way that it's supporting the culture rather than sabotaging it.
Scott, I have to tell you, this half hour has flown by, and you've provided so much great content. We see from just the reactions, people are excited about transparent. I think we might have even gotten in through to a few cynics who say, culture is really just about making money for the company. One of the things that you just said that really resonated with me is the job as a leader is to teach people how to do things the right way, to be successful, but in alignment with the culture. And I suspect that's part of why you and your team have been so successful. So I just want to thank you for taking some time with me today and answering some of these questions. And I think everybody tuning in, you can tell Scott is a really customer focused leader who truly believes in what he's talking about. So Scott, thanks so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. And you're right, it did fly by, but thanks again. I really appreciate it.